Good morning, guys. Good morning to all who tuned into the Guyanese Critic Live, the realest thing coming out of Guyana and possibly the world, undisputably so. This morning, I'm coming out of Barbados. I am in the beautiful, sunny island country of Barbados. And as much as I'm in Barbados and enjoying the beautiful scenery, uh, and the amazing hospitality. My heart is in Guyana. I'm thinking, what's going on in Guyana? And how can we make that better? That's my worry. This morning, you can call me on 622-7740 and give me your take. And we're going to have a discussion. Now, yes, so just behind me is a beautiful beach. Let me give you guys a little bit of the scenery, and then we go straight into regular programming. And here you attack your fancy. Well, here I tell you where this come from. Last night, I had a little meet with a veteran broadcaster. Look at this place, beautiful, just amazing, right? Yes, a veteran broadcaster. Now, in Barbados and in Guyana, he, Bajans know him as market vendor, and his name is Vic Finance. Very interesting guy. I'm hoping to have an interview with him today. And he is a treasure trove of knowledge on broadcasting and being in broadcasting. A BBC trained broadcaster, by the way, journalist. He there wrong and he has braille background. When the man talking, I feel retarded because I am thinking, what is this guy talking about? When he tells me about the CDC, which happens to be the Caribbean Broadcasting Corporation, I am asking myself, well, when he said the CDC did this, that thing, and I'm asking myself, should I tell him at what point in time? Do I stop Vic, as most people call him? When do I stop Vic and tell him, you're overloading me? I know nothing what you're talking about. I is the newfound fame. You understand? This guy, and known as market vendor, y'all can remember election time when the PNC tried to steal the election, market vendor had to weigh in and come and help me. Like Mia Motley did, and a lot of upstanding people around the world. Right? Some people just didn't have the guts. Even the PNC people didn't have the guts to come and say, man, well, listen to me. Yeah, that was stupidness. Right? So this same PNC-led now opposition is going to go to Parliament today and try to confuse the budget. Now the budget is 500 and how much million? Yeah, I get the 550 something million. Right? I am saying the citizens of Guyana need to sit and ask themselves, what does a budget mean? First thing, familiarize yourself with the budget and what the budget means for you. Because this, if you don't plan your life, you don't have nothing. That's why we got so much low life and hungry belly in Guyana. Right? If you don't plan your life, you don't have that. But here where the trick is, there are things that go on without you. They are things that happen without you. That is a budget. So today, budget debates are going to start, and you have to be a part of that because you have to ask yourself how it will affect you. I could tell you a few of the things, ways it will not affect you. As a result of no new taxes being implemented on the citizens of Guyana, you will not be taking much money out of pocket or no more money out of pocket. So these are things you would want to know, or you should know, or you should be informed about. You understand? That itself, when they say no new taxes, when the PNC came into power, they taxed everything. You see, the PNC is really and truly an unfortunate event in Guyana. If you ask yourself, if Guyana has good and bad, like every relationship, everything that exists has its negatives and its positives. So in Guyana, unfortunately, the access to the Atlantic Ocean is to an area where the water is brown. In Barbados, the water is blue, so it's beautiful beaches. The water complements the beaches and make it an amazing place, like a paradise. So we have some negatives as it relates to our beaches in Guyana because it's muddy, silty water, right? And hear me, water. Then everybody owns you, but I thank the man yesterday, the man tell me Vic, market vendor, the man tell me so much about himself and how he speaks and where he studied and all these things. And but somebody said the budget debate started Monday. Okay. Yes, sir, we in tune. So right away somebody say, yo, it's Monday, right? I'm supposed to be informing you, but I myself am being informed. So after this guy, Vic for that, right? Better known as a market vendor. Right away, me hold my size about you better start talking properly. Are these people feel you're mad? You understand? Because when you're walking on the road, you see like me, you're hearing a certain kind of song. When you see me, you hear me talking like, are we he come from now? We know people just come from all over the world to Barbados. But did they drop him off here? Did he come naturally? Because he hair and look right. And then the song that coming out the mouth, they think confusing. What is he saying? Well, I can tell you that is the way Guyanese speak, right? For the most part. It's only when they come out and thing and it's that attack, I can fancy. Like them a Bajan, them a Jamaica. When Guyanese land for the port is that attack like the people there. So I'm telling you about the budget and what you need to know as a citizen, right? You need to know how this affects you. Like, for instance, I'm told $79 billion is for a road to Linden, something with the highway. I don't know if it's a new road. I don't know if it's maintenance of the Linden Highway and the Harbor Bridge, the Demerara Harbor Bridge. $79 billion has been allocated for that out of the $500 and odd billion in the new budget. So once the budget is approved, you know very soon your hardships on the west coast and the east bank of Demerara will be alleviated because you will have a new bridge. So there are certain things you need to know. The amount of the budget, what are the budget allocations, and how does that affect you? Now, when I say affect you, it doesn't mean negative or positive, but you will be affected. I don't know if it's negative or positive, right? Because Linden Highway, let me say the Harbor Bridge project. So here, what are the positives and the negatives of that? Some people are going to be affected positively by them benefiting from the contract financially Some people are going to be affected positively. There is a need for a huge workforce. Jobs are going to be created that are truly positives. Some people are going to be affected negatively because of the fact that the road will be dropping at an area, the bridge will drop at an area where people close to residential area, where people, for the most part, for years have been afforded the opportunity of a quiet, beautiful environment. Now, on highway going next to your house. So that man, he ain't too positive about that. He ain't getting nothing positive, except he's overwhelmingly in love with his country and a patriot and decide, listen to me, this is for the betterment of the country and I will live with it. Right? So those are some of the positives and negatives of the Harbor Bridge project. You have to look at the budget now and calculate how it will affect you. And that is where you don't get tied up with the opposition game. Now, the opposition most likely will be the opposition and could possibly be running for the Guinness Book of World Record, holding longest position of opposition. I don't know who holds that position presently, right? But the opposition, when in government, they held, I think they now hold the position for the longest awaiting of results, election results. Yes, the PNC-led operation, yes, they hold that Guinness World Record for longest awaiting of election results while attempting to steal election. I would want to think the Guinness Book of World Record would put it that way, right? So they hold that record. And I think there's a highly likely, look when you look at this budget. When you look at this budget, one has to ask oneself, what then is the use of an opposition? Now, this administration had, the now government of Guyana, had a budget of $340 billion, plus minus a couple billion. And now we moving up in the world and everything's a billion. But I say, man, I still got like a couple million. Don't worry all the billions yet. Just give me a couple million. You understand? I'm coming back. I want to do bus terminals across, bus shed across the country. And that's a project I'm going to do up a proposal and put forward to the government. So I'll be working on that. So last year's budget was around 300, and somebody spoke today how every time the media has to say it's the biggest budget ever. Well, yes, that is the direction we go in. It's always bigger and better, or it should always be. Unfortunately, that was not the case with the PNC-led government. So they got a set of orangutans run all about the place, taking a here. They ain't looking at the budget for decide for the budget. They got time with who wears a suit, who pants tight. That is how the opposition operates, and an opposition affiliated. Yes, and I said, lonely from many people running out. Blah, 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 blah. Now, here was the funny thing. These people, they're in opposition, and obviously they have a job. David Patterson has some operation in the bush. Everybody has something going on. They're not looking at, let's decipher what this means, explain to our supporters, and get them to capitalize on the opportunities being afforded to them. Because they could go on tomorrow to promise anything. They could go and promise, we will give you a budget of 600 million, if you're going to believe them, billion. So what you do is use this opportunity that is now afforded to you, access to a budget, understanding, and explain to your people. Watch, when they're done, when the opposition done with the followers, normally, the mentally retarded, unfortunately, is born that way. Here I tell you, The mentally retarded, this is no joke. To be labeled as retarded, you'd have had to be born that way. Nobody asked to be retarded. Only in Guyana, you could be educated retardedly. They would retard or retort your education. Yeah. The opposition puts you in reverse. There's no joke. The opposition of Guyana mentally reverses its supporters. Only place in the world that you could be educated, you could have all your mental faculties in place and be listed or labeled as retarded. As a result of them infusing bullshit into people's head, mass confusion. I'm telling you, the only country I think we hold a record for that. Guyana might be the only English speaking, unfortunately, country in the world that you could be born with all your mental faculties intact, educated, and then start acting the fool like you're retarded by association with the PNC. I kid you not. The strangest acts, the strangest things you can experience. You ever tell you? Comes out of PNC affiliated people. That's strange. You understand? I kid you not. Listen to me. Put all laugh aside. Y'all just have to say, critic, you lie. I can't make these things up. I kid you not. Here, man, here. Let me stop doing this. Being able to this thing anymore, let me stop doing this. The people think I lie. I speak about here. I've been to Harrison Cave, and the lady tell me how the lady with the tour telling me how so some Robin, I ain't so right to pronounce your last name, but your mother and your father didn't put much thought into your last name, sir. But he's making a very positive comment. So forgive me. The time is now to change your mindset. Live and direct is not always the solution. Stop the stupidness and bring parties together. You use your platform wisely. Here what you gotta do, Mr. Robin. Mahabili or whatever. You got to, when you talk about bringing parties together, you ever hear was the explanation for rekindling a relationship with your ex? It's like trying to put shit back up in your ass. So what I want you to do is when you when you use the toilet in the morning, right? Wherever you pass, I'll try pushing it up back. And see how that works out for you. Right? So when you finish doing that, come back to me and you could make some recommendations as to how. When you figure it out, how to do it nicely, you put on gloves, partner, shit is shit. And nobody wants it. Right? So me and understand what you talk about using your platform for clicking what? Yeah? So I'm telling y'all about countries and good and bad. So if Barbados got white water that complements the beaches, clear water that complements the beaches, And Guyana got muddy water, don't work on the beaches. We have a lot of forests. Guyana, Barbados doesn't have such a landmass. So we all got to be negatives and be positives. So if that was so, then what is the PNC in Guyana? It's a negative. And they only got two political parties. If one good, where's the other one? Jamal Yassin, this low life called Guyanese people hungry belly. Yes, we have a lot of them down there in Guyana. Jamal, maybe you don't want, and I'm sure you're talking from the diaspora. I'm sure you're talking from the diaspora, right? You got to come. You got, when you deal with people throwing down themselves in parliament, people try to teach the mate. Where's call them that? Where's call them that? Eh? Wait, y'all think rebellion low life is a financial status? No, it's an attitude. I hear last at the time the man tried to explain to me, right? And here now he called me an ugly monkey. Thanks for the compliment. I never call myself no nice guy. You understand? Good morning, Nizam Bash. Right? They got a lot of people. What do you, like the guys was asking me, man, why call people like, but what do you call them? When you use terms like corrupt, right? When you use terms like corrupt, it starts always a nice. When you use terms like corrupt in Guyana, the damn people them so corrupt. People thinking like, yes, that's an important person. Corruption is an important person. No, when you catch a politician stealing the people's money, he low life a hungry belly. This way he is. Simple as that. There ain't got no two ways and salt, soap, and they even understand how to do that. Right? There ain't got no two ways. Me even understand how to do. So I try to from time to time. I must tell you guys, I do try. I try my utmost best. But I do not possess the unique skill. And it is a unique skill, I can tell you. There are some politicians that are very eloquent, right? They're very disciplined. I do not possess that unique skill. To see shit, smile with it. No. This is a smile. When I find something interesting, this is how it looks. Like, very nice, very good. When I see shit, you know it's shit I see. Me never smile when I see shit as well. Shit. Shit is shit. Yes, sir. Me know it no other way. What's going on here? Oh, the weather is beautiful. Look, you see that? The sunshine. There's sun in my face. The weather is beautiful. You hear the waves at the back there? Beautiful. Yeah. So you meet somebody like the American ambassador, Sarah Ann Lynch, the American ambassador, went to meet, right? Comrade leader of the PNC, a lady with a course. How they and they, here while they're meeting the American ambassador, they still had the people installed. Now, if they're installed, they said the people them bully the way and go in. Instead of people bully the way and go in, they said they're installed. It so happens that the installers is the American ambassador, the Canadian ambassador, and the UK people them and so, right? So they're meeting the installers now and sit down with them, right? After months of already people have installed this government, they sit down with these people. And the American ambassador sits there. I don't know what is going through her head. And she talking to comrade leader of the PNC, who is accusing her of being an installer. Right? She do the installation. And like me, before we did the installation, I would say, man, I didn't mean to stop lying. You know, off camera, I would say, man, I you know me for stop. Lie. Where SOPs there? You know how to know the PLC SOPs. You imagine I'm having a serious discussion with you. And when I come in, yeah, everybody look at the American ambassador, them here, those white hair ambassadors. These people are trained. Me, I is just, I don't know. I might be just a Yeti. You imagine sitting down with a chair smiling and an elephant sitting up with you lap. If I sit down with the camera, I feel like I suffocated. I got to ask that question. I begging him to have an interview. I will make sure that I structure one question. I will structure one question. I got to ask them. I will slip it in quick. Like, and then he could play that he didn't hear when I asked you. That's how. That's why I said SOP there. Quick. Where are SOP there? You hear what I'm saying? Where are SOP there? But I'm asking quick. Right? I'll ask it quick. So you can say, I did not hear. Oh, okay. No, but I would have to ask it. I would look the fool for not playing an integral role in the election as a accounting agent. Seeing that man is trying to rig this election and going and sit down and having a serious conversation with them and they tell me how to be installs. And they sitting down shaking hands with the people who do the installation. Yeah. Colin Joseph, welcome. Colin Joseph said, you is a madman. I want to welcome you to the Guyanese Critic Morning Live, the realest thing coming out of Ghana, possibly the world, and that stands as an undisputable fact. Right? It's yet to be disputed. When you're on, you may have comment. You're what telling when I comment, I look like from the belly self. Come jumping out for me. You have to come with something. Come with something of substance. Because I can tell you, I is not the kind of banner was going to roll up in a car and cry. You understand? Because of what people think about me. You should know that from a hairstyle. I AK 2 flying fudges. And I tell you, the term fudges ain't mean a sweet thing. You make a joke. I is the worst thing ever happened to the world, not me. Yeah, I got a little tell about deal with that, yo. I go Kabul. I go Kabul. Let me tell about deal with that, yo. Not me. Yes, so I was saying, what you have to do is look at the budget and how it affects you. There's a negative and positive in a 6 billion allocation for Gaisuko. What are those? Like everything else in the world, there are negatives and positives. One has to ask oneself, does the positive outweigh the negative or the negative outweigh the positive? That is what you have to look at. Nothing will ever be overwhelmingly good. And when the decision as to what is negative and positive rolls out, one has to make sure it's based on fact and not an individual bias. So the PNC would want to suggest that 6 billion allocation for Gaisuku, an infusion of 6 billion Guyana dollars taxpayers' money into Gaisuku is a waste of time. Now, in some cases, I beg to differ. Here why. When you're coming to dispute the Gaisuku subvention of 6 billion Guyana dollars for this year, one has to bring some facts. And let me tell you what facts to look for. Find out the drainage and irrigation that Gaisuko does for the communities they work in and around in. Find out how much would that cost Guyanese per year. Do you know that where Gaisuko operates, it maintains the drainage and irrigation for a lot of farming areas and all these things. A lot of communities, drainage and irrigation depend on them. So what you could do, knowing that in any case you have to pay that bill, you first have to find out what that is a year. Is 1 billion, 2 billion, 3 billion, what? Gaisuko is now looking to revamp itself in a manner to maintain a certain amount of jobs. So by no stretch, Gaisuko is going to be profitable tomorrow. But ask yourself, in its purpose, how it operates and what it does a $6 billion subvention make sense? And before you question it, do not look at sugar, Gaisuko, as sugar. Look at what Gaisuko does. You understand? Look at the fact you know why the PNC would never, and they start things. What PNC did with Gaisuko when they were in power was a racist act. There is racism. When you put 7,000 predominantly Indian people out of jail, there is racism. They always talk about racism. Nobody saw that. It makes sense that they should. And they campaigned, the AFC campaigned, Nagar Mutu, former Prime Minister of Guyana, campaigned on the fact that they will bring back sugar. And the first thing they do when they come and closing all the estate and sell out the thing them. Them as I sell crap and I get it. Right? So don't just take the government's word for it. You dissect it and ask his house owner, the man in Rose Hall, when he's looking at the 6 billion going together, you know when you're in Rose Hall, you know that these drains are going to be maintained because Gaisuko is staying. There's a purpose for these things. The opposition will come and sing, but let the opposition come with facts. Ask them. They're your representatives. What does the opposition do? They serve any purpose? That is what you have to ask. Right? Ask yourself that question. Let me run my WhatsApp messages and see what we got. Anybody in? Oh my God. Sorry, Lennox. Sorry. So I have, oh my God. Lennox, sorry, my brother. I ranting away, and you hear me loud and clear?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, beautiful. So I ranting away, not realizing you're on. I'm sorry. So guys, Lennox Schumann, Deputy Speaker of the House, is here with us. Lennox, I've been off for one of my rants, but we gotta get serious now. I don't want to waste your time. 500 odd billion dollars budget. Your take for Vantage Point. You were in Parliament yesterday?
Absolutely. Wouldn't miss a
Beautiful. Take it away. Tell me what it was like and what is your take. I know, you, some of them are very critical of the government, and I want you to give your honest opinion. Let's be real about it.
All right. Critic, let me start off with the my position on the NRF bill. And in my initial press release, which was prior to debate, I said I didn't have enough time to study the bill, but those are some of the small things that I could have seen. Look, at the end of the day, I'm not the government. I can offer my views and opinions, and sometimes I have to be careful because as parliamentarians, our words come with a little bit of responsibility and some weight. And then I went back and looked at the bill, and you and I had talked about there's the Santiago Principles and about freeing up the government's hands so that they could drive development and drive an economic agenda for the country. So I think the bill is the actualization of just that, the utilization of RF funds coupled with the local content to develop the kind of economic plan we need. People have to realize that when you go to the bank and take a loan, it comes with a lot of conditions, a lot of strings attached, sometimes in who you can hire, who is going to be utilizing the loan. Take, for example, the Chedijagan International Airport. When we took that loan from China, it was the Chinese that came and helped us to build that. We've got roads, bridges, and all those things being built by other entities that are basically the country sending the people here with the money to build and then they leave. So what this budget does is that it gives the government now the opportunity to actualize the local content policy coupled with the NRF so that we don't have to go and ask for money to build a road with a tremendous amount of conditions, ask for money to build a bridge with a tremendous amount of conditions. We simply say, look, we need roads to be built here and we have the money to do it. We've budgeted for that. Let's get it done. So it actually decouples Guyana from a lot of international borrowing agencies. I expected the budget to be maybe just over $500 billion, which it was, or it is, $552.9 billion. Now that's a tremendous amount of money. And I think it is only for the private sector to now show their full worth and show their capacity to be able to absorb that and help the government to realize it, to activate all of that. When I look at some components, I spoke about this last night on Newsroom, the education sector in indigenous communities really struggle through COVID. And to see that there is going to be a different approach to it, that is massive for these communities with the issuance of laptops and the investment and all those things. You look at what the healthcare budget, I think overall it is a very impressive budget. And I look forward to, I'd say, further dissecting it through when we go through the estimates to knowing and seeing exactly what's in there, right? We've got $500+ million for land titling, 600 and change millions for airstrips in indigenous communities. You've got billions of dollars for infrastructural development, water, and then you also have the raise in pension, the raise in cash grants, and all those things. So I think I will say at the outset that it's a very impressive budget, and I think the country should look forward to what Guyana will be. As the minister said last night, this should be or should mark the year when Guyana has begun its transformation, and that budget is definitely setting the tone for that.
Lennox, being a member of the opposition, and I think your party and the tripartite that you're part of has to start looking at yourself as the third force that is very much needed in this country. We continue to see the larger part of the opposition act in a manner that is not conducive to development. Because for development, we need fair discussion, not necessarily disruption. with this budget, you have expressed your opinion on this budget, and that is for the most part a positive one and in support of. Is there a message you would like to give the larger opposition? Or is there an action that you would like to see out of them in this case? This is life and death in our country. People don't take it seriously. This decides what is the trajectory of the country for the next year. And as much as the people, a lot of people don't do planning, personal planning for themselves. This affects you directly because the main fact that the government says there are no new taxes, you know you're not going to lose an extra cent to taxes. This is a big thing. And enough is not being done to explain to the people how this works. What would you like to see, Lennox, out of the greater opposition? What advice you have for them? Because it's obvious we need to advise them. We need civil-minded people to help them on.
All right. Let me work your question a little bit backwards here, right? Not only are there no new taxes, you also have a tremendous amount more that's going to the people. You know, I spoke about the $25,000 cash grant. There's an increase in pension. There's a decrease in taxes that's being charged on vehicles between 2,000 and 3,000 cc four-door pickups. And the massive infrastructural development, all of these being done without new taxes. You're quite correct in that. It is unfortunate that the major component of the opposition, they're in disarray, complete and absolute disarray. There's a power struggle within their grouping that continues to, I'd say, inhibit the accountability mechanism. Remember, the chairman of the Public Accounts Committee comes from the opposition. Right now, that seat is enjoyed by MP Figuera. But the leader of the opposition also has a tremendous amount of responsibility. They've got constitutional responsibilities also. And right now, as it stands, my understanding is that there is just a lot of friction, a lot of infighting in there to see who the next leader of the opposition will be, which I think is very unfortunate. We should not be at this juncture. The longer they keep fighting, I think it puts, it decreases the effectiveness of the accountability mechanism, the Public Accounts Committee.
Leonard,
were I in their position, okay, if they wanted to look at accountability really seriously, they should say, we have no idea what we're doing. We're kind of lost. We really can't decide on this. We can't decide on that. Why don't we elect Lennox Schumann to lead this opposition?
Good pitch. Lennox, here I tell you, this is no joke. Yesterday, the budget, before the budget was about to be read, the opposition leader said, oh God, I don't want to be opposition leader, but me will wait around for here. You would believe that it was the government was going to read a death sentence. The opposition leader run away from the post. The man don't want to be opposition leader while this budget going to be read.
You know, Critic, yesterday, I think we also marked a very important day in the history of this country. I'm not sure if we set the Guinness Book of World Record, but we may have set some kind of a record for the shortest time as leader of the opposition, which would be Joe Harmon.
The PNC is known to hold a number of world records, I can tell you. And yes, most likely that is one. The longest period to give election results, they hold that while trying to steal election. They hold quite a few Lennox just said they should tell the people, yes, we know not what we do, and let Lennox Schumann lead. Well, I'm all for that, right? You got my vote on that, right? Because even with your limited experience as a politician, the first time holding office as a politician, I think you are better composed. We could sit down, we could have a discussion, got something, right? When I watch it, when you watch the former president, I think like I gotta put on a pampers for this guy and sit down and talk to him before he just pass out in front of me. Lennox, recently, I don't know what's the term for it. Some motions were tabled in the House for behavior of the government. I don't understand how it works. You being Speaker of the House, please help me out. Here up now. The opposition was in Parliament, create a big ruckus, tried to steal the maze. All of this happened live. Tried to steal the maze, then go and bring a motion for saying the government behavior bad or something. Explain to me how these things work.
Well, basically, there's a committee called the Privilege Committee, the Parliamentary Privilege Committee, and that committee is responsible for sanctioning MPs. Remember, as a member of Parliament, you're given immunity within the House. So a parliamentarian, a member of Parliament, cannot be held accountable for what they say in the House, outside of the House, because that is all within the confines of the parliamentary system. And the Privilege Committee determines the operation of each parliamentarian. Generally, we go in there with a blank slate, a clean slate. And as we start to, if you're reverted to the Privilege Committee and the Privilege Committee determines that now you cannot be part of any other committees, or if a suspension is warranted and all these things, the Privilege Committee will determine that. But I particularly go back to my statement again. There seems to be no grasp or no understanding of what happens in Parliament from my colleagues in the opposition. They're in complete disarray. To look backwards in that sense. You know what? I am on the verge of being sanctioned, so let me throw something at you. To what end? If you know you're at fault, as Ralph Gonzalez had said when he was in Guyana when they're going through the election, he said, "Take your blows like a man," right? they should take it, because that is what their behavior warrants in Parliament. There is an absence, in my view, of civility, of a willingness to find common ground, of a willingness to want to dialogue. A lot of absences. So I strongly hope that whoever gets that position as leader of the opposition, that they change their behavior, they change that attitude, they change the approach. Because at the end of the day, Guyana is the country that is going to suffer if they don't.
Very much so.
Like when I say suffer, I'm not really casting aspersions on anyone. I'm saying that remember I went and said that the accountability mechanism, the chair of that mechanism lies in the opposition. If they have no chair, if they don't know what they're doing, how do you keep track of that? How do you ensure that that accountability mechanism is functioning?
Is there anything, I know that you suggested, you're talking about the positives in the budget. Is there anything that you as an opposition member would have liked to see in the budget and it's not there?
As I've said last night, one of the things that I really wanted to see is a lot more invested in Indigenous communities. Yes, I know $3 billion plus another $3 billion for the Linden to Latham Road. You've got 600 plus million for
the $3 billion for Linden to Latham Road?
Yeah. There's a sum that's allocated for that road, and based on my understanding as the budget was read yesterday, I haven't had a chance to look at it, but there is also another 3 billion for hinterland infrastructural development, plus 600 million and another 500 plus million for land titling. I would have hoped that, like I said, I will always continue to ask for more for indigenous communities. So 3+ billion is a tremendous amount of money. It's the largest we've seen for hinterland development. But if you ask me, I'd like to see
Nothing is wrong with
300
that.
billion.
I can tell you, if you got money on a table and you ask your wife for take some money, she would take as much as she could take. You understand? And if your wife gonna do that, you are there representing the indigenous communities. I expect you to ask for more. You would be foolish. You understand? Successful businesses, when people go and sit down for negotiate, they believe there's a little bit less. Progress is more. Progress itself is more.
Right. So yeah, like I said, I would have wanted to see, instead of 3 billion, 300 billion in hinterland communities. It's unrealistic, but you know.
We can get there, buddy. We can get there.
Yeah,
we can get there.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that's what I would have seen. Yeah.
How do we roll out, Lennox? I know we've been back and forth on different things. How do we roll this out? What role are you going to play as an opposition member? Obviously, the major opposition does not have the credibility, and because of the fact that they're disarray, they do not have the ability to hold this government accountable. What role are you willing to play? And what can we do, you as the single outside opposition member, to hold, what can we do, continue to do, to hold this government accountable?
Critic, I'm in a very uncomfortable position because I often get lumped in with the opposition or the major opposition, and I want to draw that very clear distinction, right? I don't caucus with them, so whatever their behavior and their MO is in Parliament, I'm not privy to that. I'm not privy to any kind of arguments that they're going to bring to the floor. So I operate somewhat independently in Parliament. What I think that the citizens can do is to continuously monitor the work. I've seen people putting pictures up of roads that are falling apart after being constructed only 3 years, incomplete work, contractors being delinquent in some cases. You know, I think that the citizens, we've got social media, and social media plays a very important part in how we conduct our day-to-day lives, whether we choose to believe it or not. And I think that in itself, the more the public gets engaged and involved in some of these things, then I think it is going to help parliamentarians hold the government's feet to the fire.
Lennox, is there any parliament today? What's going on? Explain to me what's the next move with the budget.
Budget was presented last night. We've got from now until Sunday night to peruse the budget and to see what's in there, to develop our debating points, and budget debates actually start on Monday.
Okay.
After that, after we go through the debates, we go through an evaluation of the estimates where we go, you know, ministry by ministry, line by line, to figure out what's there and what the work plan is for every single ministry, and then we have to vote on those. That's a long and tedious process. One of the things that I find that I'm quite concerned about, I should say, is generally in budget debates, the leader of the opposition is given 1 hour to rebut the government. With the absence of a leader of the opposition currently, we don't know who is going to occupy that space, and it's. I really don't have words for it, because it seems like the opposition, the major opposition, is leaderless at this juncture. They're listless, rudderless,
When they had a leader, they operated like they were headless. So it's a lot of less with them. Lennox, I know you just spoke about things in the bill, in the budget, that you would have just came across or perused. When can I expect an update from you after you would run through? You think today you would be able to go through enough information tomorrow? Because I want an update as when we could get an update before budget debate start.
Critic, we may have to do an early morning update on Monday before budget starts.
Monday it is. Monday it is before budget debate starts. Thanks, Lennox. Thanks a million for your input as always. And what we have to do, what I would advise you to capitalize on, since you've noticed the confusion over the major opposition, is we have to grow, Lennox. We have to ensure that the tripartite in the next election has more seats, because there are a lot of seats up for the bidding over by the major opposition. Now, I am in Barbados, and I'm in a country where the Prime Minister has been able to attain all the seats, and that is why I'm here. I'm trying to figure out, how does a government or how does a politician wipe out our opposition, right? But we got a little situation by we side, because I supported you and your opposition, but we gotta get rid of the greater opposition, right? For a greater good of the country. So I'm here. I'm hoping I can talk to the Prime Minister and she'll be able to tell me, give me a little sneak peek into how she was able to walk away with 30 seats, and there are only 30 constituencies in Barbados. So
it's called effective governance, Critic. You know, when you're effective, when the people see it, and the people know it, and the people feel it, a great degree of empathy, a great degree of care for the people, and I think effective, you know, being able to implement
that's how you could do me there, man. How you could do me there? I come to Barbados, I there down here a whole week, and you ain't telling me that you know that. I come tell the Barbados as the Prime Minister how did you could have just tell me is effective governance. I would have saved a flight and all, man. How you do your partner, the man?
But at least you're on vacation, right?
Hey, buddy, thanks. We talk, right? Take care, man.
Good. Thank you.
So, guys, thanks again for tuning into the Realist Thing